Welcome back, everybody, to the Tweedl podcast. We have a very, very special guest today.
No, he's not just special. He's flipping special. Okay?
Yeah, he's the hottest name in shooting right now.
Right now, I'm starstruck. I don't know what to say. I'm like so in awe of this man next to me.
He's got like a 10-kilogram piece of gold in his pocket.
Yeah. Please
which
tell me he's
has come
brought it.
fresh from France, fresh from the Olympics. Our Olympic gold champion, Mr. Nathan Hales.
Woo! Charlie, clap for God's sake, Charlie.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, mate. We thought we were quite honoured to have him on. Like, this is as special as it gets for me and Rob.
This is because we had a bit of a break, mate. So now we're back. I mean, we couldn't. This is like back with a bang. To
Absolutely.
get the most important man in shooting at the moment. It is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is it.
It is. There
God,
it is.
Can I touch it?
Yeah.
I'm never going to ever touch my own. So, God, look at that. That is unbelievable, isn't it?
The weight of it is insane.
Look at that.
Show the camera, Rob. Come on.
Can you see? Can everyone see that? It's beyond. It's beyond special.
Yeah, flipping out, mate. What a feeling.
Yeah, it's just been
mate.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, exactly. We need to leave it there on
Yeah.
pride and place. Do you have dinner on a night and just sit it next to you? I would.
Wear
it in bed. Sam would hang it from somewhere else if he could, but he's not strong enough.
Oh. I still could. You'd struggle.
Yeah, I struggle, actually. Rumour's gone around, has it?
Yeah.
So, right, where do we start? I mean,
I know. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just been a whirlwind. It's been absolutely mega.
Yeah.
It's something you dream of when you start out on the journey. I started 10 years ago. Trying to pursue that.
So just let's start from the top then. People that don't know, you've obviously won an Olympic gold.
They should be banned.
Correct. Olympic gold medal in a shooting discipline. What discipline is it? And explain to the listeners and viewers.
Yeah, so it's Olympic trap is what I shoot. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Olympic trap, but there's a very good layout down the bottom of the hill here. But yeah, a trench in front of you, much the same as ball trap, just with 15 traps, 3 in front of each station. Varying in heights and angles.
Yeah.
Is it? But it's in a set sequence, isn't it, Nate? So if you know you're on peg 1, do you know you get one of the 3? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's right,
So you get So you get the 2 angles twice and the straight bird once. And there's 9 schemes, so 9 different variations of each angle and height. Speeds vary a little bit depending on height to get it to go the distance.
Yeah.
Which is 76 meters is where our marker post is, and they're traveling around 67-ish miles an hour, give or take.
Away from you though, it's bloody fast, isn't it?
Yeah, and depending on where the traps are set in the trench too, there's I think it's 100 mil tolerance. So they can come out slightly more face on or slightly more edgy. Obviously, slightly edgy is slightly harder because they just catch your eye that much quicker and appear.
Were the Olympics
faster.
when you shot, were they edge on or were they a little?
A mixture. There were some big high angles which appeared slightly edgy.
Yeah.
But it was the background was perfect. You had AstroTurf from trench all the way to the bank.
Right.
A big green bank, which was bright netting. Like they looked like they were this big.
Dustbin lids.
Yeah. They were so bright.
He makes it sound so easy.
I know,
Have you noticed that?
I'm squinting.
Have you ever done it? It's flipping impossible.
a few
Let me just
times,
tell you. When
It's
you
good
watch
fun,
them,
though.
It looks so easy. It's good fun, and it's quite. I mean, it's just addictive, but it's bloody difficult.
Yeah. Do you have some Red Bulls and stuff before? Is there a
Try not
ritual?
to. No, not really.
He's a bloody Olympic athlete, you idiot.
You've got to be on your game, haven't you?
Does he have a cigarette and a Red Bull beforehand? Yeah, he goes on. He's not
pretty
like
cool.
that sniper guy who walked in with his in his pit. Who was the guy? Where was he from? Did you
Turkey.
The Turkey.
Oh yeah, that was
pistol
mental.
shooter,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
assassin.
Yeah.
That's
just
just
cool,
gone
wasn't it?
viral. I think it's done more good for the sport than any of the medals
Yeah.
have. To be fair, it's just gone nuts.
And I've got so many. This could be like a 3-hour podcast.
I
You
know.
know that, but we're going
it
to
should
have to
be.
be sensible on it, and he deserves for it to be. So many interesting questions, but when and some might sound stupid, mate. So I apologise. When do you go? I know you're a phenomenal shot. Do you go thinking gold is that my target, or do you go thinking a medal is my target, or do you go where is your mindset before you even step out onto that range?
So for me, a lot of my training was geared just getting myself in the best position that I possibly can for the event. Me and my coach and the rest of my team, Pete being included in that, we had a good idea of how we peak over the last 3 years, or if we're not in a peak, can get to a position where you can still compete, which is a great position to be in. And my whole training was geared around just getting to that. You know, the games is, for a lot of people, can be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Some people are very capable and never get there. But yeah, it was geared towards, you know, being at my peak, and the rest, you know, it's sort of, once you've done the best you can in your training, the result's going to be the result. And to a degree, that's sort of out of your hands if you put in all the work. So it was just, my main goal was to enjoy the event, take everything in that I could get from it, really enjoy it, take it in, relax into it, and know that if my training and everything had done correctly, which it was, I'd left nothing unturned or unlooked at. And if I got to that point, then it would be the result could be the gold.
You have to edit your face out of that,
if not a final. So
wow. But you, in terms of peakness, you were right on song, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. It was, I mean, you know, the two I missed, I made two little mistakes and it cost me, which Olympic trap has the pleasure of doing that. You make a slight mistake and it kicks you where it hurts. But yeah, that's just the joys of the Olympics.
And
But
not only did he win gold, though, you set the Olympic record and you currently hold the world record anyway, which is just... So
It's just
48 out of 50. What was the previous Olympic record?
43. 43.
Nice, you didn't you just break it, you smashed it.
Yeah.
And you got a 49 for the world record
49
as well.
for the world, yeah. And I wasn't aware of the Olympic record at all. It wasn't.
Were you not?
No, the world record I knew was 48. So as I was coming down to the last couple of targets, you know, as much as you try not to, you can't stop your mind thinking of what could happen.
And talk people through who didn't maybe watch it. Where did you drop your two? What?
So in the first round of 25, I missed my 16th target.
Yeah.
And I think I was I'm not sure on the second 25, maybe 10 to 15 targets through the second 25 when I dropped one there and managed to run the rest. And I think...
and is that quite an early time to miss a target in Olympic trap, or is it no? I mean, you don't want to drop it in your first 5 or 3. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
You've got to, you know, you need to start building a score. So you weren't. It's not. Oh my God! Because the thing which I find utterly amazing about all the shooting in the Olympics, especially your level, is if you miss an early one, I mean, what do you do then? Because it's like, it's almost over, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to dig in and just try and fight your way
It's where
through
mentality comes into it, though, isn't it?
100%.
Do you do a lot of training for that?
Yeah, so I've got a sports psychologist who I work heavily with, and for me, it's a big part of it. You know, when you're stood out there for 25 minutes for a round, you can't keep your concentration solid for that long. So you've got to learn to switch on and switch off in short spaces of time. Otherwise, you'll just end mentally and physically knackered because you just can't keep it up for that amount of time.
But how? Let's try and dive into that a little bit. How do you do it? So you're on that first stand. You're at the Olympics. You're thinking. You obviously don't. So I'd be thinking, shit, I can't miss. Shit, I can't miss. You're clearly thinking, I'm not going to miss. They look like dustbins. Is that like the difference? And they come out and it's like, pull, bang, it's it. Pull, bang, it's it. Do you know what I mean? It's that. I just can't understand how you'd get into. I mean, I've been in the odd shoot-off for, like, you know, the Pony Club or something like that, you know, like the local play shoot. You know,
And you're shaking like a leaf.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, can't miss. Do you know what I mean? I can't even get my head around it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a special position to be in, and I cherish, regardless of result, I was going to cherish every moment of being there and enjoy it. You know, I went for a walk an hour before my rounds to have a look at the crowd, feel the vibe.
Do you get to practice? How many times do you practice when you're there? How early are you allowed?
So we were there 5 days before the event.
Yeah.
I shot 7 rounds over the 5 days.
Yeah.
I had a day off in there as well.
Yeah.
And you know.
And do you shoot well in those rounds? Or do you?
I didn't particularly.
No.
Early part of the week, I went out trying to force it in training, just because I've shot the range before. I shot it well, and I wanted to come straight off the plane and straight back into that form and build, which I didn't. But I tried not to stress about it. I knew the quality of what I was shooting was good.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And you know, training has no relevance to your competition result, only if you let it get to you mentally.
I was just about, it's all a mental game.
Yeah,
you could have got off that plane, shot badly in training and gone, oh my God, I'm not on form, I'm not going to do well.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got to just go, it's just training, it doesn't count. The next day is the actual
Exactly,
day.
yeah. And that's what I done. And then I shot official training well, which I then got into my full competition routine and just treated that like competition, which is always nice to do that. There was a bit more of a atmosphere around the ground, although there wasn't the crowds there.
Yes.
And that's what I was actually searching for early on in the week. I wanted to feel that Olympic buzz, but there wasn't, because they were still doing work around the ground on the grandstands. It was still a bit of a building site in some respects.
Yes.
And what is the routine? What is the Olympic final routine?
So everyone's individual, but my routine, I'll get ready, go for a walk with my psychologist normally about an hour before I shoot. Just have a bit of a general chit chat. If there's anything bothering me, get it off my chest, and that's time to sort of push that to the side and forget about it, move on. And then sort of 30 minutes before I warm up, do some stretching, maybe have some physio if we've got a physio there, and then do some dry mounting, and then get ready, get on the range and let them have it.
Flipping out.
Let him have it. And he did let him have it. I mean, that's the truth. Did you lead for the people listening? Did you lead all the way? Where were you? How did that work? How did it go throughout the competition?
Qualifying, first day I shot 73. I missed my last target out on my second round for 50 straight, which I just looked at it and thought, how did it not break? Everything looked perfect. It just didn't seem to break. So that confused me a little bit. Then went out a bit edgy on the last round of the first day, so the third round. Felt a little bit edgy. I missed one. I think it was about 6-8 targets in, and then thought, right, now we've got to get into the rest of these, because 120. It was always going to be a high scoring event. 122. It looked like was going to be where you needed to be to maybe scrape in the final. So yeah, just had to keep your head down and keep fighting. I really tried to feed off the atmosphere from the crowds. Yeah. And you could feel the crowd getting behind you, getting behind everyone. It wasn't just
Was there a good crowd?
I was going to say,
was there a good British crowd there?
Yeah, we had a lot of Brits out there, which was great to see. There was some big banners with all of the Brits' names on, which just when you're walking down to the layout and you have a glance up and see people with GB kit on or stuff, flags. I found it quite emotional, actually. I
bet you did.
From start to finish. I had to
and
at times
stop. And that's part of it again, isn't it? Having to control that.
Yeah, definitely. When it took me 10 years to get there. I started shooting trap back in 2014, so it took me 10 years to get there. And the relief, it's a big relief actually getting there, because it's a good 5-year apprenticeship just to sort of half get to grips with the discipline. Yeah. So,
but you've achieved something that, hardly any do.
No.
And you said earlier you started it 10 years ago. Is that trap or shooted?
Yeah, started trap 10 years ago. Right. I've shot clays and game all my life. I think I shot a beater's day with a little single barrel 410 when I was 5.
And you're a good game shot as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't get to do as much as I'd like to.
No, I bet you get to do a little bit more now. I've just got a feeling that invites might just start coming.
But there is a story about...
Sir Edward's here later, and he wants to see you because I think he wants to invite you shooting at West Wickham.
Amazing.
But that's what... Hey, you've just got to take it, haven't you? You deserve every bit of that.
But there is a story, isn't there, Rob, that you might have beaten an Olympic...
I don't know about this story.
A future Olympic champion to a duck, is that right?
Okay.
Set the scene.
I can't tell it because it's just so interesting. But I did shoot ducks with him at George's jigweed shoot down in Kent, didn't I?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Can you? I can't remember what happened. What happened? You shot at a duck, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it was quite a low one, and George wanted to just spur him on a bit.
That's it. Yeah. and what happened to that? You missed it, didn't you?
I did both barrels as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
What happened after that?
I think someone next to me may have winged it.
I can't remember who that was. Who was that, by the way?
I think it was you.
Yes, it was me.
Claim to fame.
Yeah, no, it was actually a good duck, to be fair. It was
I bet you wish the cameras were rolling earlier when he said it authentically.
Listen to him. It was a good duck. It was at least 15 foot high. And Rob shot it.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Listen, I just find cool. So what... Right, so you've done that. You've won the gold. Talk us through the journey. You're like, oh, my God, this is amazing. Your family are out there.
Yeah, whole family.
Everybody out there.
Yeah.
What happens that evening? Talk us through...
It was... I didn't expect it. I wasn't prepared for the media and everything. So literally, you come off, come off the final, I got to say well done, got told well done by the family, give them a kiss and a cuddle, see all the kids. Then I was literally rushed straight into a cooling room to put my podium tracksuit on, straight round onto the podium.
Is it as quick as that? I mean, because we only watch it on television, so you're like, is it all, what is it?
As quick as it was on telly, that was in live time, So it was straight round on the podium, and then they whisk you off from there through media. So had to do, I think there was
Hang on, you can't just went to the podium, got the medal. What's it like stood on that here in your national anthem?
Yeah, hearing your national anthem.
Yeah, that is.
Did you cry?
I think there's a picture of me like
You didn't
this.
watch it then, Rob?
I just couldn't. I was somewhere and I listened to it all on the radio. So I'm listening. Have you ever listened to the shoot? I listened to Amber on the radio as well on 5 Live. I'm like, it's painful. You can't actually just talk. Tell me what's happening. And they jump from sport to sport. Yeah. So they're like, oh yeah, Nathan's hit another one. He's in the lead, and the other person's come in and he's hit some, and bang bang, and they go to another sport.
Kayaking.
Yeah, exactly that. It's horrible. I mean, how could you? I just can't get the feing of.
There is no feeling, and I don't think there's unless I can do it again. There's nothing that's going to touch it. And to stand on the top of that podium, national anthem playing, look up into the grandstand, and there's Charlotte, my kids, mum and dad,
all in tears.
Yeah, all in tears.
So.
I'm there trying not to cry too much.
Got to be big and brave. Millions are watching. Don't
Some
cry,
big deep breaths. I couldn't even get the words out for the national anthem. But there's just literally no feeling that can touch it. Like to stand there, your whole body just tingles and shakes.
Amazing.
It's truly special, and it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm going to keep going for a few more years so we can see what happens over the next 8 years and the 2 games. And
so you go national anthem off the podium, then into the media room.
Into a media run through where there was Sky Sports, BBC, ITV.
And they brief you, do they, in advance or not? It's just completely
briefly on the way to it, maybe just to sort of like tell you who's going to be there, and then literally run through them. That was it. Then through to press conference. Which was emotional because they brought up Kevin Gill, who was my previous coach, who passed away. I think
was an amazing
2019,
guy.
2020.
And actually, I would imagine had a big part to play in this.
I mean, for me, Kevin was a massive part. He coached me from early on, took me under his wing early on.
And just British shooting in general, he did some amazing things for it.
Yeah, for sure. He was great for us. And for me, a while after, competing wasn't quite the same. I found going to competitions without him quite hard. There was that to deal with, the press conference, anti-doping, so you've got to go and do a P test, drugs test. And then I was allowed home. So this was about, I think we left the ground at about 7:30, 7:45. And then I managed to get a beer and a couple of slices of pizza with the family. And then it was literally straight into media.
I love it how an Olympian
a beer and a couple of slices of
celebrates his couple of pizza.
And then it was straight into media again until 12:30, 1 o'clock that morning, and then was up at 7 for more media.
And you're staying in the village?
So we was in Châteauroux at that point. And then had to go down to into the village in Paris that day for 6 hours of media down there as well. So like the 24 hours after it, I just did not know where I was at. I was running off about 3 hours sleep, not even through going out partying, celebrating.
And were you staying in the Olympic Village yourself?
No, so we were like 300k south of Paris.
Oh, right.
So we was in a hotel. Team GB come out, kitted it all up for us. We had
Did you have the cardboard beds like the rest of them?
No, we had a nice big double bed. They're horrendous. I'll show you a picture later. Yeah, I took some when we went back for closing. Yeah, and they are horrendously uncomfortable.
What is the deal with that?
I don't really know.
Anti-sex or
I think
what?
There was rumours of that was the case, but I think some of the rugby boys and that proved it wrong by like 6 or 7 of them bundling on one bed and it managed to stay up.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. When you say anti-sex, what, you can't shag on a cardboard bed? Is that
no? Is it? You've given it a go. Okay, hell, I've shagged on worse than that, Rob. No, that's what they were sort of portraying in the press. But then, as well, they were giving out 300,000 free condoms or something.
Apparently so. I didn't see any when I was in the village.
I wonder what that bag
was. I was going to take a couple of souvenirs.
So and then you were in the opening ceremony, weren't you, Rob? Dressed as a woman, recreating the Last Supper.
Oh, very good. That's one to you. I'll give you that.
That was bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It was. But from it's hard because of course it was an amazing Olympics. it was a good Olympics? That's the vibe, isn't it? That it was a really successful Olympics.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and then do you then meet any other athletes from other sort of disciplines and everything else? Do you get to see them all, chat with them because you've got a gold medal? Do the other gold medalists from Great Britain come and talk to you? How does it all work?
Yes, I mean, when we was down actually got back into Paris for closing, so Team GB basically had a massive apartment block. All the Team GB are in that one apartment block in the village. So there's a chill out zone where everyone can chill out, grab a drink. Yeah. So people mingle, mix in there. To get some rowing stars, Tom Daly and that were walking around just as we was, to get to talk to people like that.
And I guess you're all amazing people, so you all just chat just like we're chatting now.
Hopefully you were wearing your medal at that point, so they realised that.
No, but I was fortunate that
the dog.
You get a silver, mate.
Yeah, nice to see you, Tom.
Better luck next year, Chief.
Silver. This is what gold looks like.
But
this is why we would never win, because we would be like that. Was he unbelievably cool, calm? Do you know what I mean? Really humble.
Yeah.
God, I got some more questions.
I know what else. How many Olympic GB people are there? In the whole.
So actually, in the main squad now, so it runs off of you have to have a minimum of 2 qualifying scores or qualifying medals to be eligible for the team. And if you're eligible for the team, it doesn't mean you're going to get picked if people are above you.
Yeah.
I think eligible for the team at the minute, we maybe have 5 or 6 of us.
Wow.
So it's quite small. But I mean, you have to shoot 2 119s or above, or you have to get 2 international medals or a gold at a selection shoot. Or 2 golds at a selection shoot, just to be eligible for the team. Right. Then it doesn't mean you're actually going to get in the team if the people above you want to go, or unless they want to send people for development opportunities to give them that overseas experience without necessarily being in the main team, which they can do, which is a good way for a shooter that's on the border to then gain that experience without being in the heat of the main competition itself.
Yeah.
Because you missed out on the previous Olympics, didn't you?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Almost makes this one even sweeter. It's the first Olympics you've competed in and walked away with a gold.
Yeah.
So explain, you only missed out narrowly, didn't you?
Yes, so I lost out on back number, which is decided through your qualification score. I think I shot off with, it was either 7 or 9 people, I think, for one spot on a 123 out of 125. That's very rare. Normally 123, you're leading qualification. You're guaranteed pretty much every final you'd get into with a 123. Yeah. Unfortunately, on this time, there was a long shoot off, and I think 7 or 8 didn't make it on 123. I then lost out on back number. I climbed up from 6th to 4th, and then lost out on back number on equal score with a Chinese guy, which, to finish, when you finish 4th, it's always a hard one because you're out of the medals off the podium. But when there's quota places involved, it's even worse because they don't come around very often. No. And it's they're extremely hard.
It's quite a complicated process, isn't it? I'd imagine people at home, as I'm going.
I know he doesn't. Yeah.
Just before, because clearly Captain Late is obviously late. Do you know what I mean? And just before our other special guest who's meant to be here with us at the moment, caught in traffic. Well, that's what he'll say anyway. Won't he? Now, tell us. What was it like? Tell us about Peter's involvement with you. Obviously, having an Olympic gold medalist in your camp anyway. Tell us a little bit about that.
For context to the viewers, Peter Wilson's on his way to join us and has been for the last hour. So, he's about to miss the pod altogether.
Yeah, he might, but we'll get him here.
He's on his way. He'll be here in a minute.
And Peter obviously won gold at the 2012 Olympics. So, what was his involvement with you? And
so Pete actually started with me fairly late through the Olympic cycle, halfway through the Olympic cycle. He had a chat and said, I think I can bring something to your shooting if you're interested. And I spoke to a few friends and family and sort of just obviously decided it'd be stupid to pass up that opportunity from any Olympic gold medalist, to get that insight, which you're not going to get until you get there yourself. It's just invaluable. And he brought a great deal to my shooting. He's been a great help, and it's very kind and generous of him. But his insight and knowledge into guns, shooting, technique, all of that kind of stuff is just absolutely unbelievable.
I guess it's a big risk for him and you, isn't it? Because it's quite hard to be able to go, I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I think I can help. Would you like me to help?
Yeah.
Because it must be hard to offer that service up, isn't it? Because you sort of think, I don't want him to think I could help him and I'm better than he is. Because you don't think like that.
No,
he wouldn't be thinking like that. But it's that's pretty cool, isn't it, that he offered his time and help to you? And cool for you to be the bigger person and say, thanks very much, I'd love to help. Because I'd imagine some would go, no, you're all right, thanks, I'm on my journey.
Yeah.
And that's it. It works both ways.
Yeah, like I say, you'd be daft to pass up that opportunity.
Yeah. Exactly.
But he's an unbelievably kind man, isn't he? I mean, he's a great chap.
Yeah, and it's nice that, someone wants to give, at his level, wants to give something back to the sport for nothing. He's got no gain out of me for it other than us working together and getting to know each other and being able to maybe carry on the path that we're on for another 4 years and get there again.
And who's the better shot between you and him while he's not here? Just we promised, Are you better than he is?
Well, he did give it up, but he was getting to a good stage.
What did he shoot in the Olympics? Do we know?
So in double trap, I think he shot maybe a 142.
He was double trap though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And he shot. I know he shot 45 out of 50 in the final.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pete went to the next level. I'm sure he'll tell you he shot thousands of shells at a pattern plate. Well, he had a pattern plate where his second target would be and would shoot the first target, shoot the pattern plate, just so he knew exactly where his top barrel was shooting.
He did. And this be interested if we get a chance. It'd be interested to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
What? And we should, because it's.
I was going to say, can't just send him back down the road.
No, hey, Pete, thanks for coming. We've seen the hero of the moment. Yeah. Off you go, Pete. You're old news. Do you know what I mean? But because somebody was telling me, you're absolutely right with his pattern plate. They said that if you blindfolded him, but told him which clays are coming out, which station is on, he'd hit 80%, even blindfolded. He literally had got it absolutely drilled in. Is that semi-true, or is that a load of rubbish?
It wouldn't surprise me with Pete.
Right.
He's completely anal about everything he does, very OCD, and he I think would change his gun. He had like spacers made up to like 0.1 of a mil to adjust his comb, adjust the cast, just on how it maybe felt on the day. And double trap shooters in general were very much like that, and they would change something the day of competition if it didn't feel right. As where trap shooters don't tend to change so much, don't have so many adjustments on the stock, that kind of thing. But
and why you talk about double trap and trap shooters, as in single trap and double trap for the basics way. Why is it so different? I mean, surely if Pete can shoot two really easily, why can't he shoot one really easily? Does that make...
So back when they had the double trap that Pete won at was fixed scheme, so they had A, B and C scheme, so you basically had a wide scheme, a narrow scheme, and then opposite side, which they used to shoot the opposite target first, I believe, on some. And they were spot shooting the first one, so that as soon as the first person shot the first pair of targets, they knew what scheme they got. So then they would hold for either the higher target or the lower target and spot shoot the first one with pretty much a dead gun. So that's why they had the big high ribs, because they would want the first barrel shooting probably, sort of guessing a little bit, but near 100% high, because they were shooting without moving.
Yeah.
But they would want the top barrel to shoot pretty much dead flat, so they could point at it.
So they literally would hold the gun there, shout, pull, and pull the trigger.
Yeah, not quite as quick as that, but they would see the target coming up through the gun, which you can with a big high rib, because your vision's so much wider. Pull the trigger, basically the clay would come into the pattern virtually, and then they would just move on to the second one.
And so why couldn't he transfer those skills? Not saying he couldn't, but why is it hard then to transfer those skills to single trap?
I think because he was too anal, right? I think, and I think Pete would be open and honest about that. And I think he was looking for too many particular details that he didn't need. And which in obviously Olympic trap, you've got a little bit more room for error. You've got a second barrel for a start, and hold points aren't quite so important and are very individuals. Where double trap, it was pretty much one hold point. That's where you saw the clay best, and that's where you shot your first shot. And went on to the second one. It's very... As much as they're similar in a going away target, technique...
They're completely different.
You can get away with a poorer technique for double trap because you're shooting a fixed target. Recoil was more important in double trap because obviously if your pitch or cast was wrong, it could push you away from the target than push you to it. So Pete shot with, I think, an incredibly uncomfortable gun fit because it pushed him towards the second target.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The detail when you get into it.
And when you talk about hold points, Nathan, with what you're doing, obviously, you said before we sat down to do the pod, you're not guessing. You are, but you're sort of not memorising the sequence of the clays.
Yeah.
So where are you hold pointing? Just right on top of the trap? Or?
Yeah, so for me, I'm probably like half a finger width. If you put your finger on top of the trench, I'm probably half a finger width with my gun above that. Eyes probably around the top of my finger. I'll move up and down a little bit just depending on the range and how the setup is, but no more than that. So I'm for most people nowadays, I'm quite low. A lot of people have come up slightly higher.
Right.
I'm very instinctive in the way I shoot, and I don't try to let the target beat me too much. As soon as I see what direction it's in, I'm locking on and swinging.
And have you ever timed how long it takes from the clay to be left the trap till you've pulled the trigger?
So depending on angle, it'll go between 0.52 and 0.67 on a big angle would probably be 0.67 of a second.
Have you actually done that on your? Do you get your
half a
stopwatch out?
second?
Half a second before he's seen it
and pulls the
knows where he's
trigger.
got to shoot, moves his gun and pulls the trigger.
So we've
in
actually
the right
got
place.
some out in Italy.
That is unbelievable.
I'm going to do
got
this.
a system, and they've got it linked on the mic, so the microphone pick up the timing from calling Paul to your first shot, so you can work it out on the angle.
All right, hang on. So let's just get this. Let's just get this right. Ready.
And he's an absolute fashion icon as well. The way
right,
he
this
dresses is
Paul.
unbelievable.
Is this the man of the hour? Back live.
Are we back live?
Yeah, we're back live. We're on one camera now because the other one's overheated. So it's all fun and
back
games.
live, just as I claim that the chap who's very sweetly filming us, that he was coming in for a reach around.
You know, so he's with Sky Sports, BBC.
And now he's at Tweedle Pod with cameras overheated in the safari lodge.
He was saying off air that this is his most fame-struck moment since he's been here with us.
Undoubtedly. So as you can see, we have been joined by a late +1.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce him, Robert?
Well, Olympic gold medalist from 2012, Peter Wilson.
Old.
And coach to the man of the moment. Or I guess he's coached the right term.
Someone said to me the other day, you're yesterday's chip paper now. And that's true. Yeah, I really am. Yeah. Old, haggard, double trap shooter.
12 years ago.
Thanks, mate.
Quite scary, isn't it? I remember when we saw you appear. I mean, that is quite scary, 12. How old are you 12 years ago?
3.
yeah, I was about 14, I think. Yeah, 14.
Jesus Christ.
That's filled him with absolute joy.
What do you say?
We did say, didn't we, off air? Well, actually, just before you arrived, not off air, but we did say to him, who's the better shot. In fairness to him, he said, I think Pete would do me now. He said,
No, I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah. He didn't.
He didn't. I was going to say, he's why I don't shoot trap. I mean, I started watching him, I was like, better I help him than I try and shoot against him. Really. Yeah.
But this is what we were, just before you arrived, most people, you look at double trap, which you did, and trap, and you think, it's just the same, really, isn't it? Apart from it's probably harder. You've got 2 plays in the air. He's only got 1. But he was sort of explaining to us, it's miles apart.
Miles apart. I actually think skeet and double trap were probably closer. And in hindsight,
Really?
Yeah. When I left, when double trap was removed, I had I did a period of coaching. A young man called James Debman after the Olympics in London.
How's James getting on?
Well, he's moved into trap, as everyone has.
Yeah.
And I actually wonder, because I did the same. I double trap ceased to exist. And those still shooting double trap typically moved into trap. The odd one had a go at skeet or flirted with skeet. And now that I've done a fair bit of trap shooting myself, I had a go, sort of flirted with the idea and gave it up for as a bad idea, mainly because of this man.
Yeah.
And the volume game, it works in skeet. It really does work in double trap, and it works massively against you in trap. So I went in.
When you say the volume game, you mean the practicing? Just
lots and lots of rounds down range.
Thousands.
So I moved to Wales with my family, did 3 years there, shot probably in 3 years what Nathan would have probably never shot in his lifetime. I mean, I probably shot, in 3 years, I would have shot somewhere near 80,000 a year. Maybe 75, 80,000 a year. Yeah, I mean, that first year...
Who was that again, but louder, so we can definitely hear that.
I mean, I shot more in that first year, and I shot myself out, really. I mean, I would have shot over 100,000 in the first year.
Who was supplying you with cartridges?
NSI. Thank you, NSI. And maybe they should have restricted me, because that would have maybe done me more good. I remember when I did a deal with them, they very sweet. I went back and I could never get a deal. I couldn't get a deal with RC, so I couldn't get a deal before the Olympics with RC as world record holder. I was world number 2 going in, and then I thought I'm not likely as a having a go in trap, really starting from the ground up, am I likely to get a deal with them? So I never even approached RC. It was probably a mistake, but I then was sweetly, very luckily approached by Edgar Brothers, who were importing NSI. And I never forget when we went in for a meeting, they said, what sort of numbers are we talking? And I said unlimited. They said, well, what does that mean? I said 100, 150,000. What, in like a 4-year cycle? I said a year, maybe 9 months. So we'll be delivering pallets to you. Yeah. I mean, and I had a warehouse.
So let's put this in context. Was it 24,000 on a pallet? Something like
so I had a warehouse in Knighton
of cartridges in a year.
Yeah, and I had a warehouse in Knighton with dehumidifiers in there, in sort of locked storage, and they would deliver 1, 2, 3 pallets to me. And
that's 2,000 a week.
Yeah, I mean,
is that legal to hold that?
It's
mate?
Not.
You need an explosives license.
Or are we
grey area?
Let's just quickly move.
Charlie?
Yeah.
If we can edit anything.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
Yeah.
So I only stored 250 at a time. One slab.
And they were delivered every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours. Yeah. So no, in double trap terms, that's actually probably, it's not a lot. I mean, in double trap terms, you'd be shooting, easily 100,000. Easy. Like you wouldn't really be touching the sides.
So that's what people do in double trap. If you were really serious like you...
I had a long chat with Ahmed Al Maktoum about this, because there were rumours flying around him shooting sort of close to $250,000 a year. And I said, is that possible? The thing is, in the Middle East, they don't really have a winter like we do, right? No. And we go around chasing pheasants, partridges, pigeons, whatever. Yeah. They don't really do that. And so they haven't got the winter. They don't have other interests. Or they might do, but they don't have access to it like we do. So they just shoot 24 hours a day, like all the time. And you can shoot under floodlit. There aren't the rules governing EJ Churchills that stipulate you can't shoot at night under floodlit, for example, because there's lots of local people.
So he didn't shoot 250,000 shots.
So he thinks he shot somewhere in the region of low sort of 200,000. So 220, 230. But they would start at 7 a.m., go all the way through to 7 p.m., and they have teams of people who will support them. So unboxing, little things like unboxing a box of 250, taking out a box of 25 and pouring it in your pocket. It takes time. If you can get someone else to do it for you, if you can get someone else to do it for you, then you will.
4,000 cartridges a day. Yeah. You need a man just to
you have your man, and you'll arrive at the range. You'll say, "I'll be there for say 8 o'clock," and you might arrive half an hour before to prep to build into your training round. You would never arrive and shoot straight away. You always have prep. But you would arrive and there would be 1,000 shells already opened, unboxed in boxes of 25 with the sort of label cut, so you're not going to catch your hand and maybe get a paper cut. Because that slows you down, you can't shoot. Little cuts on your hand, it's slow, you can't shoot. And so you just shoot volume. And then in the Middle East, it's so hot, your barrel and action gets so warm, you have to either wear a glove, which I didn't like, or you have to use this very thick double-sided tape so that any part of the barrel or the action you're going to touch with your hand, you'll burn. So you have to make sure that you...
big accolade for your gun manufacturer as well.
Well, it falls apart.
Did you have more than one gun that you practiced with?
No, I shot with a Perazzi MX 2005, brilliant bit of kit.
Yeah.
And but it fell apart. The end soldered.
I wonder why.
Popped off.
It's ridiculous.
People had all sorts of problems with chokes. The rib warped. The side ribs came apart. You were pinning it. You were sticking it together with cable ties. It was a real problem. But this is double trap. I'm painting you a picture of double trap. It's nothing like Olympic trap, and that's why it's so much more like ski.
Is this the common thing then? So double trap, you all practice
it's a volume
like
game.
Absolute lunatics.
As much as you can.
And then talk us about your practice and how much you do.
So volume for me, I would probably shoot a max of like 30k a year, and I wouldn't shoot.
Pathetic.
I don't shoot much more than a slab a day on a busier day.
It's just pathetic.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
You're butting those numbers up, Nathan.
Think what you could have done if you practiced more.
But he got better practicing less, and I learned that off Nathan. You never stop learning, and so for starters, I'm not Nathan's sole coach. He works with Marco. He works with British Shooting. He has a huge team, and I guess where I came in and was able to both help and learn off Nathan was in that last few percentage bits. The last few years, seeing him shoot, he's been very, very good for a very long time. Yeah. But to go from being very good to be truly brilliant, now world record holder, Olympic record holder, Olympic gold medalist. Those three things, they're really cool. They're really difficult. He'll never say that. They're really, really difficult. And to get all three in the space of 2 years is incredible.
And it's just unbelievable. I mean, it just doesn't happen, does it? Really?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen.
But we were saying, we were sort of being kind about you, believe it or not, earlier on.
Oh, you are a star.
I know, but
I'll watch this back and realise you really weren't being kind about me.
Yeah, we'll edit this bit out.
God, he's a dick.
Right. Yeah. So, but what we're trying to get at is, you made the call to him to say, I think I can help you.
Well, were we in Serbia or Croatia? World champs.
But that must have been a big thing for you to offer up, because it's almost, it would have been hard to do that, wouldn't it? Because it's like you're setting yourself up to fail, really, aren't you? But obviously you haven't. It's been a huge success.
I've seen Nathan around the block for yonks, right?
Yeah.
So as I was my career was coming to its natural end, his was taking off. And then I was coaching, again in double trap, but I still bumped into him regularly on the sort of shooting scene. And he got better, and he got better, and he got better. And like a lot of shooters who have come and gone, they get to a certain point and they just can't. That next bit, right? That next bit's really, really difficult. Go from, as I've said before, very good to being truly exceptional. So we were at the World Champs, and it was like 10 days out, maybe a bit less. I was there with Promatic, with Kevin Newton. We were watching the team shoot. I was watching Nathan shoot, and I spotted a few small little things that I thought I could help him with, and we were just having a chat, like back of the range. I said, if ever you need any tips or help, I'd be happy to sort of help out, really, on an also ad hoc basis. And we chatted some more, and he asked me his opinion of his shooting, and I told him a few little bits, and it just sort of went from there, and it snowballed. And then we talked more, and you'll find that the better you get, those people who have been brilliant at any sport will find that those last little bits is not a lot. It's not masses of change. You're not going from a 20 bore to a 410 to a 12. It's not huge changes in weight or anything like that. It's just a small little things. Whether it's how you prepare mentally, whether it's about what you're thinking about, whether it's just a few smart minor alterations. We made a small alteration to the gun a few months back. It takes time to bed in, and you going into a games, you need to be very, very strong mentally.
What was that change of the gun?
Couldn't possibly tell you.
He started shooting a side-by-side.
Yeah, that was it.
For all those.
He wasn't getting anywhere with that Holland and Holland.
Yeah, exactly. And what about for you when he's wanting to make these changes? Because you're a phenomenal shot anyway. You've set the world record. Do you start to go, oh God, I'd have been like, I don't know if I want to be making these changes, or did you embrace it? Or?
No, I fully embraced it. Yeah. I mean, when you build a relationship with your surrounding support staff, with your team, you have trust and relationships with them, and when they make a suggestion, you sort of have to embrace it. Yeah. Trust that it's right. We go and put the gun on the pattern plate. The pattern plate doesn't lie. At the time I thought my gun was shooting too flat, and I wanted to shoot it higher. Pete said it's too high, we need to go flatter, and we went and put it on the pattern plate, and it was 100% high. And I'd shot like that for 2 years and done well with it, but for whatever reason it started not to work. I think I'd probably put a bit of weight on, and it
your body changes. Yeah, these things happen,
and I couldn't cope with the picture, but the picture was what I wanted to see. And when I lowered it,
felt alien.
It felt alien, and I wasn't able to trust that the gun was where I wanted it to be, and I kept double checking the gun as I was calling for the target. But I persevered, stuck with it, and believed that it was the right decision.
And what gun do you use?
Beretta DT11, standard, obviously a custom stock.
And cartridges?
Cleaver Pro Extra
Cleaver
Evos.
sponsor you, did it?
Yeah.
So when they got him involved, do you think Cleaver like, oh no, we've heard about him. Oh my God, he's going to shoot 100,000 cartridges a year now. He's going to bankrupt us overnight. Please, no, don't have him.
It's quite the opposite. I mean, he shoots better when he's not shooting so much, and that's where I say I learned from Nathan. That I only really realised in the last year just how much shooting I did to my own detriment. And that taking a week off is a great thing. I think this is the same problem for a lot of people all over the world. Yeah. They shoot too much in trap. Yeah. You need that flair. You need that hunger. Yeah. It's much more of a natural, game than ski or double trap. And if you are doing too much of it, you become too robotic. Your movement is destroyed.
But it worked for you.
Well, no, it didn't. Not in trap terms, but for double trap, yes.
Double trap,
so double trap and skeet being slightly similar but different entirely to trap. Yeah. So taking a week off would be unheard of in double trap. But for Nathan and for trap shooters generally, it can be a godsend. Take a week off. Take 2 weeks off. You only have to shoot once a week. These things vary, of course, throughout the year. You might find you're doing 3 or 4, 5 days a week, depending on where in the season you are, and then you're tapering off in the build-up to competition. So you need to be fresh. I wasn't fresh. I made lots of mistakes, but I guess that's what makes someone a better coach, really, because you learn from your own mistakes.
Yes, exactly.
And
so
then
you've been able to help with that because you've been there, done it, and failed, and done it, and failed, and
and then little bits like the Olympics. You know what it's like. You know what it feels like to go in. As Nathan was, joint first, and you know how it feels in that environment. I suggested he should watch a bit of Finding Nemo. I watched Finding Nemo at the Olympics. He said, I don't want to watch Finding Nemo. Why would I want to watch Finding Nemo? I said, fair enough.
That's Sam's favourite. Oh no, that's Grinding Nemo, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, I forgot. It's a different one. Yeah,
it was. I was told to. Ahmed Al Maktoum told me to just take myself away and watch a film for the kind of couple of hours. And no one had a film. And Ian Coley said, I've got Finding Nemo. My grandson downloaded Finding Nemo onto my laptop. So I just sat and watched like an hour and 20 minutes of Finding Nemo. And it was just mundane enough to take me away. It's not for everyone, but you just need to take yourself away from that kind of really high pressure environment. The Olympics is like nothing else. It is a melting pot. It's a multi-sport games. It is incredible. It's where the very, very best pitch themselves against one another. And in these minor sports, it is all that matters. That's my opinion. You can win as many world championships and World Cups and all the other bits.
I just can't. I mean, I still am. Do you know, like little boy in a sweet shop, just spending time with him. But it is just amazing, and I just think to be able to cope and deal with that pressure I can't get my head around.
And this was his first games, right? So there is no rerun. You can't say when you get to the end of it, I had a chat with Håkan Dalby afterwards, who was working with the Swedish guy who came fourth. Who would love to have a go again. He learns a lot in that environment. There is no time to learn again. You have one crack, and you go in there and do the very best you can, and then you get to the end of it. You prepare, as if your very last day on earth is that day, and then you see how the cookie crumbles, where the chips lay, and then you prepare again for 4 years.
Which makes it when you're just stood there about to say pull on your first pair, thinking all of exactly everything you've just said. And if you miss one,
that's it.
I mean,
but that's how you prepare mentally, And so you prepare for all these potential eventualities. What it's like to miss your first bird out or your last, and where that where your brain is in all of those environments. Nathan's always I've found in the last few years, especially when we've really sort of got down to the nitty gritty, been very strong mentally and able to deal. But I think it's because you've shot a lot from ZZ, Sporting, Sport Trap, Fitask into Olympic Trap. He's competed a lot all the way through his life, and I think that has stood you in good stead going into these. But then again, nothing prepares you for an Olympics, right? Nothing.
No.
And what about the preparing for what he's going to go through now afterwards? Have you spoken about that? I mean, because you would have been.
This is day one.
Similar.
We haven't caught up until since the Olympics. We've spoken a lot on the telephone.
His feet haven't hit the ground yet, like yours.
Exactly.
As well.
Exactly. He obviously needs to enjoy it, and he is enjoying it. Doing things like this. Getting out to Italy, catching up with his sponsors like Beretta and Cleaver, and making a plan for the future. I was very much I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. I did it, and then I took a little break. I came back and shot a bit more. I reminded myself that I didn't want to do it anymore, and then got out. And I did what every heavyweight boxer should never do, but does, and that's come out of retirement and have 3 more years of hard graft, and reminded myself, being pasted by Nathan, why I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
He's in it for the long haul. And could go on to win many more Olympic medals. He could be our greatest ever, shooting Olympian, certainly in shotgun, and possibly even in rifle and pistol. He has that potential. So it's about planning his life in the sport, and putting together solid partnerships that will stand him in good stead into the future, being a professional that he is. And a true professional and a consummate professional all the way through his career. So it's about getting that right. That doesn't come quick. We've got time, luckily, on our side, so it's about putting together a plan and letting him letting that ball roll, let's say.
And Nathan, this is what you want, is it, mate? This is it. You want to go to the next...
You're probably about to say, no, I want to quit.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm going to go play chess.
I want to make a big announcement live on the Tweedl pod. You know what I mean? No, don't, for God's sake.
I don't know what Pete's on about.
We couldn't cope with the fame. Our server would crash. Do you know what I mean? So, but this. You want to go to the next Olympics? I mean,
yeah. I mean, for the foreseeable, if I get to Brisbane in what will it be, 2036? I'll be 36. So, I mean, they say your peak years are mid-30s to mid-40s. So if that is the case, then I've got potentially, as long as shooting can be at the games, then potentially could be there competing. We'll see how we feel after going through the ringer for the next couple of cycles. But
and I guess one thing now, when you and it, Pete, we all knew about it, but more so now with social media, the world knows about you, don't they? And they knew about you, but it's just easy to spread the word even more so now. So and that helps, doesn't it? For the good of shooting.
Yeah, I think shooting's had, especially with the government change, the amount of media we've had on BBC for shooting has just been an absolute game changer for how we're going to get looked at moving forward over the next 4 8 years. Yeah.
And we've had a silver. We've had a gold and a silver. This would be one of the most successful. Probably going right back to Ian Peel, Richard Folds in Sydney.
I was just about to say Sydney.
Phenomenal.
That was the last
phenomenal time. Yeah. I mean, have we talked already about Amber? Having
We haven't said a word, but because we wanted to.
I mean, crazy, right? Crazy. So I'm not saying that she would have necessarily gone on to win, but she didn't get that opportunity to continue to compete for gold. So it could have been the most successful.
But is it true that VAR, you have VAR or for shooting, it is there. Somebody said they decided not to bring it to the Olympics. Is that actually true, or is that a load of rubbish?
It's I don't know the actual ins and outs of it.
No.
But what they have had, and they've gone through many different versions of VAR over the last few years. Initially, they gave every shooter 3 VAR opportunities, just in the same way that they would in tennis, for example. Yeah. The problem with that meant that every time someone missed, they put their hand up. Yeah. Because there's always that element of doubt. Yeah. And at the same time, you might slow up the rest of the squad. If someone's on a bit of a roll, then you might
missed twice.
You might only just ease them up a little bit. So that just added, I think on average, 50 minutes to every final. So by the time they got to the end, there was the tumbleweed blowing and no one was watching because they were just so bored. Yeah. So they ended up winding back the VAR and sort of shouts, shall we say, opportunities to call. I think what they really need, and clearly this is a big issue, and it's a big issue for the ISSF to address, and Amber's leading that charge quite sensibly, it is more a third umpire in cricket, for example. So rather than giving the athlete the chance to put their hand up, if there is a discrepancy and the referee isn't entirely sure and they go to the side refs and they're not sure either, they could go to the third umpire. Yeah. Why not just a few? We all saw it at home. Seconds later, there was a visible piece. So, okay, it's a kill. Right, matter of seconds, no problem. You're not then giving the athlete every chance they miss a target, their hands raised, and we're adding 50 minutes, which is just ridiculous to a final. Why not in those incredibly important moments? Because up until that point, Amber had done the most fabulous job of sort of depicting shooting in the most professional and exciting way possible. And then all of a sudden, her opportunity to continue to compete for gold is robbed from her. And it's just marred shooting, in my opinion. So
it happened to the other lady as well, didn't it? Didn't it happen to the lady who won gold? I can't remember her name. Didn't it happen to her? Didn't she? She appealed, didn't she, earlier on?
Yeah, but she didn't. Clear.
Yeah. And I
think there is a bit of that. And she would have probably pulled a VAR, right? Because I think she also double missed earlier.
Did appeal,
I mean, pressure does lots to lots of people. And it was so close. And the whole thing was just so wonderful. I just think the ISSF really need to go back. They need to apologise. I don't know if you've seen on the Beeb, Amber's calling for an apology. And quite sensibly, I think. They need to admit they've made a mistake here. And we go back to a sort of third umpire system where it just gives those referees that opportunity in those high pressure stakes just to double check. I'm not 100% sure. Unless you're 100% sure, you go to the third umpire. Yeah.
And I think fair play as well to Amber for actually saying something in a statement on Instagram, because she could have quite easily just said nothing, but for the sake of the sport, to better it, I think she's done a good job of putting it out there.
You don't want that to happen again.
No.
I did. I dropped her a message because she started her shooting here with her granddad years ago, and I did drop her out. I thought she acted in such a professional way when that happened.
Incredible.
I
wouldn't have done that.
What it, I was just.
I would have been a nightmare.
Could you imagine if it happened to you?
Oh, it has happened to me. I mean, that's so sad. This is not entirely
and all the television's on there. I mean, I'd be going ballistic.
It would have happened to you, Nath. You get robbed of targets. And back in the day, I'm talking like 30, 40, 50 years ago, the Russians would bribe referees. It was quite common and very accepted. Doesn't happen anymore. Yeah.
I know it does at EJ Churchill. You can bribe.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. and
I think Sam wins things.
Yeah. So you'll find that, you would have hit a target quite clearly. Loss. Yeah. I'm sorry, I hit that target, old boy. Loss. And if there are only one referee, then it's much easier to get through, a target that may have been killed or hit, or in fact, you might find that someone's missed one and been given one. So there's been an air of shall we say, discrepancy over the scoring of Olympic shooting for some time. Open to bribery way back when. Yeah. And then more recently, I don't think anyone meant for this to happen. It's just poor refereeing, and we
Has the referee apologised?
God, I don't know.
No idea.
I've not seen anything.
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, it's not good for the referee either. No. None of them. No one person.
Where was the referee from? Do we know?
No, I don't know. I have to do a bit of research. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Miss. I'm okay then. No, she did brilliantly. I mean,
She did.
And how amazing for the pair of them to do something like that. It's just unbelievably cool.
Yeah, it's
And
been
so
incredible.
then planning now for the future. So what do you do? Are you just going to be shooting full time? What do you do work-wise? What do you...
Play with a few second-hand cars.
Yeah.
Dad was a car dealer, so I
Yeah.
grew up with cars.
Yeah.
Was trading cars when I left school up until I decided I wanted to take my shooting a bit further.
Yes.
So still dabble in a few, but nothing major. Carry on shooting. Try and improve sponsor relationships.
Yeah.
Try and build on that, and try and make a bit more of a profile to myself. Try and make myself a bit of a business now. And then,
But I bet Beretta are over the moon. Have you spoken to the Beretta family at all?
so some of the Beretta family are actually out at the games.
Yes.
So that was great to see some of them after. Carlo Beretta was there.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him.
bet they
They've
were
invited us out
absolutely
to the
thrilled
factory
for
in
you.
September. So we'll see what
amazing.
comes. And I think Beretta had 11 out of 12 medals. I think Perazzi won 1 medal. Beretta had the other 11
that
in the
right?
shotgun events.
But that happened back in the day. It seems to flip-flop, doesn't it? Perazzi, I think, back
Perhaps
in
were.
2012.
They had
Yeah.
that sort of accolade, didn't they?
2016, they ran off that for a while. It was incredible, and Beretta have completely
I think
turned the tide.
Beretta targeted that, didn't they? Talked to them. They went with the,
think
Perazzi have dominated that world.
Well,
Literally
Perazzi would be a
dominated.
minnow in comparison to Beretta. So for Beretta to have that sort of snubbed in their
Yeah.
face, it's
I think
embarrassing.
then Beretta went, no, we're going to sort this out. And they
Yeah.
had to deal with Amber and others, didn't they? And
Yeah.
Himself, and they've gone right after it. So fair dues to them as well.
Yeah, they made a bold statement over the last few years. They've really got to grips with it. And
And your sponsors, Cleaver and people like that, just fantastic.
yeah, I mean they're super supportive anyway. And most of those sponsors took me on when I hadn't done too much. Got a couple of medals, but
Yes.
nothing major. So for them to be able to do most of the journey with those guys and be in partnership with them the whole way through is nice as well. It's a really nice relationship to have.
Have you touched on the
Sponsor 'em
fact?
as well, Rob.
Yeah, we're going to talk.
Well done. I've heard the rumours
Get
are
it
that
on
Rob's got so
camera.
much cash under the bed, he keeps burning his bum on the light bulb. I say we, can help you with that. Yeah. Starting with lunch. Yeah.
I couldn't afford to sponsor him. I
Bloody brilliant.
Can I just...
Go with a new jacket.
I'm going to apply to be his cartridge case opener. I'm going to sit there lining them all up for now, so when he goes, he can just put, thanks Rob. Just put them in. That's going to be my new job. I'd love to do that.
And something interesting for me, and I think the people listening and watching, how's the funding for Olympians? Is it good? Should it be better in British shooting? It covers costs? I don't know.
I mean, I think we all feel as athletes. I don't necessarily class myself as an athlete, but I am classed under
Technically,
the funded.
mate, you are.
Yeah. But I think we always feel hard done by when you look at other elite sports, football players, rugby players, all across that. It's minuscule what we get in comparison. It's enough to live off, and then we get expenses on top of that, which is where it comes into its own. When you get any extra cartridges paid for, you get fuel, targets on range, trips abroad, hotels, flights, all of that's covered. So that's where it really comes into its own and really saves you. But I mean, I feel very privileged to be able to be a part of that from UK sport and the lottery funding and the lottery players, because if it wasn't for them playing, then we wouldn't have the money as sportsmen to be able to follow our dreams.
The one interesting thing to come from the Olympics, the National Lottery have come out really well from this. I mean, the amount of, for the first time, I mean, I've watched the Olympics many times, but this time everyone's been saying, thank you to the National Lottery. Thank you to those who play the National Lottery. We couldn't do this without you.
Yeah.
That's really cool, that, isn't it? I think that's exciting. But I think the one thing I'm hoping now, which is, how the money gets allocated, fundamentally, it's a business, isn't it?
Yeah.
They allocate it based on their medal performance. So the fact that what you've done will do, and what Amber have done, will do wonders for shooting.
Is there a Brucey bonus for a gold or not?
We get nothing from the government, anything like that, which
There's
I
been
think
talk
we're one of
about
the
that, though.
few nations that don't.
Yeah,
A lot of nations get.
I did a bit of Googling the other day out of interest, and I think China, if they get a gold, it's 20 grand, I think, or something.
Yeah,
So
I think the Arabs, they bought houses, don't they, and all sorts of
Oh,
medals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although
Was
was
it
it
the same-
Singapore or Hong Kong? They get $1 million. It's it can be vast depending on where in the world you are. The Americans
We didn't
do
charge
well.
him for your coffee though, did we? And we're going, and there's a
Get
Kit
a free
Kat,
coffee.
and there's going to be a Kit
I
Kat in a
actually put
minute
it on
as
your
well.
tab. I never gave them the option. They were like,
Well, I didn't say there's 2 free coffees.
Phoenix tab.
I said one
Yeah, yeah.
free coffee for him. You're past. Okay, you're the past. Okay, we're all about the future.
Yesterday's chip paper.
Yeah,
I know.
but
I don't know actually. I mean, Nathan will say we should, everyone winning a gold medal should get $1 million. But
I agree.
does it?
I agree with him.
Well, we
You can't backdate it.
As should the coach. And I just think that you're already under an immense amount of pressure. Will putting $1 million on the line, or 100,000, or 20 million? I mean,
Yeah, that's a good
will
point.
it help? Will it actually help? And you go back to which countries actually give a significant, potentially life-changing amount of money. How many medals do they actually win? Very, very few.
Yeah.
The Middle East doesn't win lots of gold medals. We're talking gold medals here, and Singapore, Hong Kong, the same. And what you find is the countries like America, who win lots, they give a great deal less. I think it's $50,000. I'm not saying that wouldn't be very welcome. Of course it would, but I think there needs to be some balance there. It sounds like in rowing they're going to address that as a sport. They're going to they are going to draw in money from, they hope, sponsorship, and that will be fed out to the athletes to win, to create a bit of a prize pool, let's call it, for the next Olympic Games. I don't know. I just think there needs to be a balance. It doesn't. It's not about just chucking money at the wall.
With any sport, I don't know. I know a few professional rugby players and things. They don't do it for the money. I mean, don't get me wrong. The money is very important. They've got to live and everything else. But I think surely if you said to them, you can go and play for England and win the World Cup, or you could win something else and I'll give you £1 million. I'm sure that's actually I'd rather go and play for England and win the World Cup or something like that. I don't know. I mean, yes, I agree. You should. I think it'd be lovely if you rocked up here in your new Range Rover, because that was an absolute win bonus for
Provided by EJ Churchills.
Provided by EJ Churchills,
Yeah.
and Tweedl.
And £100 in tickets.
Yeah.
Done, we'll take that.
It's more than he gives me, by the way. He makes me pay for everything. But I think it would be nice. Coming back to that, the wonders that you've done for shooting is just immense. And I think the wonders that you've done for yourself. And I just think it's phenomenal, mate.
I think also
I'm so proud.
It paints shooting and shooting as a whole. I'm talking clay, rifle, pistol,
everything.
game.
Yeah.
It paints it all in a really professional, really, just about the best possible way you can. Excelling on the Olympic stage. There is no better way for these sort of minor sports to show the wider world, show the British public what we are all about. And I always tried to make that connection after London to pals who shot game exclusively and the occasional days clay to sort of generally prep, and they were never able to make that connection. They were never able to understand maybe the minor intricacies. And I don't know, maybe I was explaining it badly, but trying to sort of develop clay shooting and show it in the most possible professional light only paints game shooting in the best possible way. I don't know. As I said, maybe I didn't do a very good job of explaining it to my pals, but I do think that what Nathan has done the shooting community as a whole the world of good, and long may it continue.
I think game shooters are recognising that now, though.
Definitely. Do you think so? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Do you?
I do, yeah.
I think a lot of more game shooters now are actually shooting clays as well now.
Trying to sort of brush up and why not?
I think
in the
a lot
off
of these,
season.
we do all those charity clay days and things like that. They're great fun, and I bet you 50 to maybe more 80%. They're probably all game shooters who shoot them. These flushes and and our fun day, which I hope we get you guys on. It's full of game shooters and they're loving it, and they're doing these flushes, and it's not like a single stand or something like that, because notoriously game shooters are terrible shots, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? They really are. I mean, when you see them shooting clays, it's embarrassing. It's like they're like top fields.
This is where Tweedl numbers just drop off a cliff.
Fields top 50 shots, and they come and shoot a clay round, so like 45 out of 100.
Well, I'm the exact opposite on game.
Oh my God.
I'm a half decent clay shot, but put me under a pheasant and I won't be able to hit it for love.
Is
nor
that
money.
right?
Oh, terrible.
You should see him mount a gun.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
horrific.
Are you a terrible game shot?
So I started shooting. I got into clay shooting by shooting game, mainly rabbits, pigeons on hedgerows and stuff. So I was a better game shot, a more natural game shot back then. And I think sort of 10 years of double trap, the sort of monotony, the hard sort of labour of it has just ruined any sort of flair that I ever had. And then trying to shoot a bit of trap, I really did realise I've got no flair for the game anymore. So don't get me wrong, I chase the odd pheasant, and I'll miss like the best of them. And maybe bump into the odd one, but I'm not as naturally gifted as someone like Nathan or Richard Folds, another Olympic gold medalist, or of course outside of the Olympics, you have George Digweed, phenomenally talented shots, right?
Yeah.
And I think the the hard nature or the monotonous nature of Olympic ski and double trap. It kind of knocks that flair out of you, let's say.
Yeah. Nathan's a good duck shot. He's good at shooting. He's good at shooting ducks. Is our Nathan?
Is he?
Yeah. Well, you know.
I'll bring this up again.
No, he can. Can we talk about it again in front of Peter?
Twice in one podcast.
Okay, very quickly. Nathan missed a duck. I shot it. Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, well done.
Well and truly,
He was 7. He was 7 years of age. Do you know what I mean? And I was
I was about
35.
to say firing at it with a cap gun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Charlie, we do not edit that bit out, okay? I need as much glory as possible. Listen, lads, we could talk forever. I mean, that's the sad thing. But I'm absolutely thrilled what you've done, mate. I'm so proud of you. And I know the whole country, the whole shooting community is proud of you. What the good you have done for our sport. And the same with you, Peter. And we should never forget that. But we're utterly honoured to have you on here, aren't we?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. Thank you
thank
very,
you
very
Thanks,
much.
guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and sorry you didn't make the whole thing, Peter, but we'll have to get you back on for round 2,
I
maybe.
work on my own timing. The world revolves around me. Never forget that. Yeah.
Have you brought the gun so you can go and have a frap or not?
No, I've got to get home. I've got to set up for. We're actually pulling ragwork this afternoon, and my wife reminded me of that. 3 o'clock ragwork pulling. The joys of living on a North Dorset farm with horses, right? I was actually going to bullshit you. I was going to give you some sort of fancy answer. And I was like, no, I'll just tell you the truth. I'm ragwork pulling for about 5 hours this
Well,
afternoon.
on that bombshell, thank you very much for everybody listening. Please like, subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you.
Nathan, absolute start. Peter, previous start.
Still a star.
Yeah.
Now going for Olympic medalist at pulling ragwork. So.
That's it. Yeah. I'll let you know how I get on.
He's so competitive. He'd be like, how many did you pull? 74. Oh, well, I beat you by 75.
74, that'd be the first pull.
Challenge in your life.
That's before I take a tea break, you know?
Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.